Hey guys, I'm Miss Johnson. I teach 4th grade here at the Academy, and today I just wanted to do a quick video to show you guys at home how we are doing division in our classroom. I know if you're like me, a millennial, we learned the standard algorithm and we didn't really understand any of the why behind it. As our state has taken a shift in those standards a couple of years ago, really helping students understand the why and where these numbers are coming from, and building upon other standards that we learned throughout this year has kind of got us to where we are now. So with division, we are using partial quotient. And we know that a quotient is the answer to division problem, and partial just means it's part of it. So I'm going to walk that through today, a problem or two today with you guys. I do have tutoring for your kiddos on Tuesdays from 3 to 3:30. But this is a video that you guys can watch yourselves to learn a little bit more so that you can help your students throughout the year, or for you just to show them because they see and hear me every day anyways. So we're gonna go ahead and start by this problem. This IXL is K13, so if it's something that you just want your kiddo to practice more at home, you definitely can do that. It is purely practice for me in my book. So K13 is the one that we're working out of today, and we're gonna start with a 1-digit divisor and a 3-digit dividend. Our standard for 4th grade is up to 4-digit dividends, and we will get there. So let's go ahead and start by rewriting. In our classroom, we often use whiteboards. Those non-permanent surfaces allow students who, especially our people pleasers, allow them the opportunity to make mistakes and it not be so permanent, like with a pencil or if they erase and they can't see it. So if you have whiteboards at home, or if you're looking for something for a stocking stuffer or a Christmas gift, that might be something fun just to kind of keep in your homework cubby at home, or whatever that might be. But we start with the way that we traditionally write standard algorithm for division. And then you're going to take and we draw this line. And this, sometimes partial quotient is called the magic 7 or the big 7. But if you Google, you can actually find this strategy and more videos similar to this. But I just want to show you kind of what the language is and our conversation that we're having in class. So the first thing I want them to do is I want them to look at our divisor. And in that divisor 6, I ask them, is 6 divisible by 4? Well, at this point, a lot of kiddos aren't completely confident with their abilities to multiply or to list the multiples of 6. And so we go ahead and start there. Start by skip counting. If you don't know all of the multiples of 6, go ahead and start listing them on your whiteboard. So we do that together. So we would say 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42, 48, 54, and 60. And we can stop at 10 because we probably won't have a 2-digit number that we need to get into as far as those multiples or multiplying something times 10, unless we're using powers of 10. But we'll talk about that too. So when we get here, they will most likely say no. And I like to explain the divisor, this 6, as friends. If my divisor, if I have 6 friends and I look at this first digit of 4, if I have 6 friends and I had 4 bracelets, would everybody get a bracelet? And that is a really difficult concept, no matter if you're using partial quotient or you're using standard algorithm. That is a conversation we have to have. When we ask them, is 6 divisible by 4? The answer is no. And so we actually have to look at both of those numbers. Well, traditionally, we would put that 0 right here and go ahead and move to our next step. In this situation, we want to really rely a little bit more heavily on that multiple and then the power of 10. And so watch this. So I would say, okay, well, is 6 divisible by 43? Well, a lot of times at this point, students don't see that there are remainders because that's a new conversation that we're having this year. But if I listed my multiples, I would say to them, what is the highest multiple of 6 that's going to get me as close to 43 without going over? Again, same conversation that you're going to have for standard algorithm. But we have 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42, and 48. Wait a second, 48 is too much, so I've got to stop. So I would say, how many groups of 6 did it take me to get to 42? And some of our kids know that 6 times 7 is 42, and some of them actually have to count the groups. So they might say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 groups, Miss Johnson. So this is the part that's a little bit different. When I think about 6 times 7, I have 42. In 4th grade, one of our standards is powers of 10. So if I was to ask them, okay guys, 6 times 7 is 42. Is 42 close to 436? And they're going to say no, they always do. And then with powers of 10, we've learned that this place right here, we need a 0 here because the value of that place is 0. There are no 1s in this number. And I would also have to, and you'll hear them say, pop a 0. So then 6 times 70 is 420. So this is kind of where we're rationalizing those powers of 10 and wanting them to think larger than just the primary numbers. And I know for a lot of us who are good at math, sometimes you're just like, why can't they just do standard algorithm? They really need to understand the power of these numbers, and which is why we build upon all these skills of powers of 10, learning our multiplication facts, all these things up until this point. So they're here, and they're very comfortable and confident with being able to multiply powers of 10. So now we just subtract. Because we went with the highest multiple here, now we can just subtract. So we have 6 and then 1. Ooh, now we're at 16. So the same thing, guys, is 6 divisible by 1. No, the 16, they know they don't even have to ask that question. They want to go ahead and say, oh, 12 is the highest multiple that I can get to. So I would say 6 times what gets me to 12? And they would say 6 times 2. And then we subtract. And now we're here at 4. So I like to ask them, okay, guys, if we have 4 left over and we have nothing else that we need to bring down, when I'm looking at what I have left over compared to my divisor, if my remainder is less than my divisor, then this is my remainder. And as they continue to have that conversation about the dividend, the divisor, the remainder, partial quotients, all of these terms for mathematics start to stick with them, and things start to just kind of come out a little bit easier and a little bit faster. So now here we are. So when we think about this point here, what we need them to see is the parts. What powers of 10 did I have to use to be able to solve this problem? Well, my partial quotients are here. So we have 72, and then we have remainder 4. And then this is the answer. That is as simple as it is. And so I kind of want to give you just a side-by-side of the standard algorithm. And maybe you went ahead and decided that you wanted to give the standard algorithm a shot while we were doing this, maybe whatever the case may be. This is how we're teaching it in 4th grade. I will talk about standard algorithm for division probably in the 4th 9 weeks. But they will see problems like this on our assessments, on the STAR math, on our benchmark, and on the milestones. And so this is important that they know that. So if you're thinking standard algorithm, we think exactly like we did before. Is 6 divisible by 4? We already know the answer to that is no. So I look at the first 2 numbers, which is exactly what we did here. So we have 42 is going to be the highest multiple of 6 without going over. So how many groups was that? We know that was 7. 7 times 6 is 42, and I subtract. Now, this is where the steps really start if you're not used to procedure. And to be a great mathematician, we have to be more than procedures. We have to understand and make sense of the mathematics. And that's where powers of 10 come in, because you can actually do mathematics more in your head than you can with numbers like this. Kind of anytime you've ever had any kind of instruction on standard algorithm versus understanding through place value, it makes sense that way. So anyways, we tell them, okay guys, we're gonna go ahead and drop down. Now how many times does 6 go into 16? We did that same thing right here, guys. We know it's 2 groups of 6, so we say 2 times 6 is 12, and we subtract. And then we have 72 with a remainder of 4. And we get that same quotient. The biggest thing that I want to tell you guys as parents is that this is how we're reviewing in the classroom. If your kiddo is able to do this way successfully and they can do up to 4-digit dividends, I'm not really a stickler for it. But when it comes to them being able to be proficient, to be accurate, this is the way that we're going to review. So I highly encourage you to have your kiddos think through this process, because all of these things, powers of 10, of course, subtraction, that multiplication, listing multiples, all of this encompasses everything that we've done in math for the first semester of 4th grade. This here is just following a set of patterns, a set of rules. And if I'm just following that set of rules, for our kiddos, especially those kiddos who already struggle, that's a lot of steps to remember, especially when those dividends start getting longer. So please use this strategy. Feel free to Google other strategies if you want. Another one that we have talked about a week and a half or so ago, we talked about the area model. Please know that we will get to standard algorithm, but that is just not developmentally appropriate for our kiddos right now. If you have questions, if you have concerns, please don't hesitate to let me know. I am more than happy to kind of teach you this. I will say, as an educator, I definitely had to unlearn the things that I've learned when we were in school to be able to make sense of the math so that I can make sure that all students can see the bigger picture and everyone walks out of the door, hopefully at the end of 4th grade, saying, I know I'm good at math and I'm proud of the things that I did in math class this year. So let me know if you have questions. I'm more than happy to help. Again, I'll see your kiddos on Tuesday. If they are struggling with this, they will definitely be able to let you know. But if you're unsure, just let me know. Feel free to reach out anytime. Thanks. Bye, guys.